Welcome to the Tea Grannies. I'm Elise.
And I'm Mariah. Today we're here to chat about what happens when you finally land an agent. So pour yourself a cup of tea and let's get started.
Chapter 1. Harper repressed a shiver as she stepped onto the cobbled street of the shambles. The hairs on her bare arms prickled despite the lingering summer warmth. She rubbed the back of her neck, casting a sideways glance at two men in long overcoats. They were leaning against the railing of St. Crux Church and talking in low voices. One of them returned her look, his eyes narrowed. His thumb tapped against the end of a black baton hanging from his waist. Harper bit her lip and turned away to study the window of the opposite shop. She rolled her shoulders, resisting the urge to check the reflection and see if he still watched her. Tourists and shoppers scurried around her. The old glass warped their reflections, lengthening faces, rippling bodies, as though Harper observed them through water. The crowd hurried past the two men, only slowing once they were under the twisted eaves of the shamble shops. Her gaze lingered on the two men again. No badges, no uniforms, but an air of threat so thick she could feel it smothering her. Queen's Guard. Squaring her shoulders, Harper turned away from the guardsman and resumed her walk through the shambles. The uneven paving made each footstep feel different as she wove through the milling crowds. Her sneakers curved over the cobbles in the center of the row, and each crack in the flagstone pavement grabbed at her toes. Sometimes it was tempting to close her eyes, to walk it blind and see if her soles would recognize the well-worn path. The further she progressed down the shambles, the further back in time she felt. The buildings leaned in closer, arching over the path, like lovers leaning in to kiss. Hanging baskets of flowers brightened the monochrome Tudor architecture. Warped wooden signs adorned the walls. Harper stooped to see through panes barely larger than her head. Each shop dazzled, selling everything from jewelry to paper, from antiques to modern art.
So my overall comments on this were I loved all of the descriptions. I loved where the story seems to be going. I thought the setting was very vivid, and Harper's definitely hiding something. And I feel like the writer is building us up to a chase or a reveal, which I love. I think that's a good hook. My main suggestions are to pull out some of the unnecessary information and give us a little more plot. For example, I think the final paragraph should move to the second paragraph instead. It'll accomplish much of the same thing, but then there would be a space at the end of the page to give us a little more action or hints to the action that's coming that will keep the reader turning the page, which is what you got to do with your first page.
Always, always, always.
Always.
Yeah, I'm with you on restructuring a bit, just to bring some setting in earlier on so that the reader can more quickly like envision themselves in the scene, because that's what I had the most trouble with starting out, was like, okay, I don't know where we are, and then we're looking at two men, and then there's a church, but I didn't have an idea of where the character was standing as that all unfolded, so I felt a little bit unanchored, disjointed, unmoored. What's the word I want? It doesn't matter.
I like unmoored. I think that's a good word.
I should have said that first. I would have sounded very cool. But yeah, so I found it a little bit difficult to imagine where the character was until about halfway down the page, and the vagueness of that was enough to distract me. Like I didn't feel like I could really get into the story because I was still trying to place myself in it. That said, I adored the description of her walking, of the faces rippling in the grass. That was beautiful.
Oh yeah, that was so good.
The feeling of the cobblestones under her feet, I thought that was really vivid, really well done. And everything became more and more vivid as the scene went on. So then, like, amidst all of that, the introduction or delivery of the Queen's Guard detail provided this perfect like beat of tension of, oh no, something's off here. Either she's hiding something, she's on the run, or she's nervous about these people because of whatever it is, whether warranted or not. So I think either on this page or the next one, the one thing that's missing for me is something to signal for me what the tension is for. Like, is Harper avoiding these men for a specific reason? And I'm not saying that I need to know what that reason is in the next 1 or 2 pages. Just that you can have like an internal thought from the character of them being nervous about something for some reason, but without giving that away. I wish I could think of an example right now because that would make these thoughts a lot more clear. But I just some hint toward a greater conflict that we're not privy to yet to show the story moving in that direction. I think that's what I was missing. I didn't feel like this was going anywhere yet because I didn't have enough detail. But that said, doesn't necessarily need to be on this first page. It could be on the next one.
I had a couple more specific comments. I just realized when you were talking that
good.
Yes, I put them further down.
Do it.
The part where the crowd hurried past the two men, only slowing once they were under the twisted eaves of the shambles shops. That whole paragraph read a little awkwardly to me, like the crowd hurries past the guards, which makes me think that they're making everyone nervous, or there's something that's making them nervous. But I don't get it from the rest of the piece. I get the idea that Harper's the only one that's watching out for them. Something to watch there. And I felt like the shambles, like the reference to the shambles, could be taken out in a few spots. Like it makes an appearance in almost every paragraph, but you've already established where she is and what the name is of the area that she's in. So I think that you could replace that with a bit more setting, like we said, or hints to why the guards are making her nervous, just something to push the story forward. Once, again, readers are smarter than you think. They're like, okay, we're in the shambles. We remember that now, and you can keep going. I did especially like some of the phrases, the part about her sneakers curved over the cobbles in the center of the row and each crack in the flagstone pavement grabbed at her toes. That was fantastic.
Stunning.
And I also loved the buildings leaned in closer, arching over the path like lovers leaning in to kiss. Like those phrases are so beautiful. Like I would continue reading this even if nothing happened on the next 3 pages, because I like the writing so much. So I just want to throw that in, because I think I forgot to mention that in my overall comments. So.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Well done, basically.
Yeah, this was a really punchy first page, and I think we would both be delighted to read more of it, for sure. I'm not ready to part with this setting and character just yet, because I want to know what happens. Like, I can see that the writing's really beautiful, like you said, and I think that'll be consistent throughout, and that'll just make the world come to life that much more. So now I'm really curious to know what's going to go on, but no synopsis, no summary for us. Not this time.
Not this time.
So, welcome, Maja. We are doing this episode with our friend, author, mother, conservation biologist. I thought I was cool before I met Maja, and then I met Maja, and it was like the universe was just like, no, think again. That's a joke, but also not, because how cool is that bio background, honestly? But anyway, yes, Maria and Maja. Wow, I can't say your name either. Holy
this is going to be a problem,
gracious.
those two names together.
I didn't know that was a tongue twister before I started. Maria and Maja, we primarily know each other through the writing group that we're in together. Maria and I have been in that one for 4 years, I think we established, which is like, wow, haven't even done a degree for that long. And then Maja joined us later. So she's actually married to my husband's coworker, and she talked to her husband, who talked to my husband, who talked to me, and said, hey, there's this person, and she's looking for a writing group. I was like, okay, cool. I don't know her. Does she write good? We didn't know. So I can't remember how I got in touch with her, but we ended up on Facebook Messenger, because that's safe and no social interaction necessary except on your terms. And we both like that. So we established that she would send us a couple sample pages. We made it all formal and official. And Maria and I read through her samples and were like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're in. And then we blackmailed her into the group and have since corrupted her. And now she's with us forever and can't leave. So welcome, Maja. You can tell everyone that you love us, because that's all you're obligated to say. And then whatever else you want.
Thanks for having me. I am contractually bound to say that Elisa and Maria are awesome.
There it is.
There it is. You have paid your penance. Now we can do the episode.
So Maja's here, and now we're actually going to, talk about agent hunting. Agent capture. Agent hunting was our last episode. Agent capture is why we're here today, because Maja has taken the next marvelous step in the journey of being an author and landed an agent. I'm sure they like being talked about like fish. I'm so sorry to agents everywhere.
I know, right?
She has entered...
Just picturing all these agents in like a lake and like us casting constantly and like trying to get one.
And they're
like,
blocking us with floaties.
Yeah.
No. Maja has entered a professional business relationship with an agent. There we go. They're
better,
human too. So we're going to start with kind of pre-agent world because that's where Maria and I still are. So this journey is fascinating to us. Anyways, I'm supposed to ask you, how long did you query for? How many agents did you query? All of the stats, basically, that you can remember. And if you can't, just go off on a tangent about one of them and we'll forget, so it's fine.
Sounds good. I have been querying for like 8 years, and that's over like 3 different manuscripts. I mean, I've written like 7, but 3 of them were sort of worthy enough to try and send out. And I've probably queried close to 300 agents, so kind of like 100 per manuscript was kind of my benchmark. Like once it reached up to 100 rejections, I'd be like, all right, time to shelve it, like move on to something else. And yeah, I just kept kind of going through all those years with those 3 manuscripts and just sort of waiting for replies. And then eventually I finally got that one yes and signed with my agent.
When was that? That was like a couple weeks, months ago?
Couple months ago. Yeah. And I signed with Caitlin Sanchez from Context Literary. So she's my wonderful agent now, which still feels weird to say that I have an agent.
It's so exciting.
Yeah. After 8 years. Follow-up question to that was, at what point did you like write the first book as opposed to the second one in that journey? And how long had it been since you wrote the one that got you the agent?
I think I finished the first book. Oh my goodness, I can't even remember. Like it was probably like 2012 maybe. The second one was kind of in the middle of that, and then this third one I finished sort of like 2017, 18ish, something like that. And then that one I had kind of like slowly been querying out, so I was sort of dragging my feet a little bit, so it took quite a bit longer. But yeah, that one was about 2017, 18 I finished it, but the first one was 2012ish.
That is a commitment.
Yeah. I'm dragging my feet and I'm only querying my second manuscript.
Yeah.
I've queried like 30 agents. I'm like, oh, I have to do more. And 100 was always going to be my benchmark, but now I like can't even find 100 agents that I want to query. And then they're not open.
Yeah, that's too, right? Like you want to query someone and then they're closed for a while, so you kind of have to like watch their accounts to see when they're opening again.
Yeah, I feel like a stalker. I'm like, are they open yet? Refresh.
I feel like it does require some stalking, like a little bit, polite stalking to get into
socially acceptable stalking.
Amazing.
Right. And so your signing with the agent was a result of a revise and resubmit, which is an R&R for those listening. So how long did it take? Like once you like tell us about like you queried her, she asked for a full manuscript, you sent it, and then she sent you the revise and resubmit. And like, did she give you a deadline? Like how long did it take you to do? Like I know we beta read it for you when you got it back or before you sent it back to her, but I was curious about the actual timeline, like how long those R&Rs take.
Yeah, so Caitlin didn't give me a deadline. She gave me a lot of kind of like general overall feedback. And one of the bigger changes was, so my character in my book, I started out writing her with a disability that was like, in my mind, it's related to what I have. I have arthritis in my back and fibromyalgia. So I was like, oh, I'm going to write a character with like chronic pain. And I was like, well, kids don't want an invisible kind of thing. They would probably think it was more cool to sort of see like a brace of some kind on their body. Like maybe that would connect easier. So, but my agent was like, well, it'd be nice if, we could have your character mirror more your personal experience. So that was kind of like a very specific change that she asked for. And then the other ones were kind of like these 2 characters that at the end sort of disappear and maybe like wrap that up a little better. So it kind of ranged from like very specific edits to kind of very general. And she didn't give me a deadline, but I decided that I was going to take 3 months to do it. So I sort of did month of my own edits where I like incorporated all of her feedback. And then I sent it to you guys and asked for it back within a month or so, which you guys were kind enough to send it back really quickly. And then I spent another kind of like 2 to 4 weeks going through all of those edits, incorporating, rereading, and then finally being like, okay, I think it's finally ready to send back to Caitlin. And the hard thing is like the student in me is like, is that good? Like good? Is that acceptable? I mean, Caitlin was fine with it, but I've never gotten feedback from her if that was slow or quick, or what in the span of things. But that was just my experience. I decided for my own goal setting to do 3 months. It felt like it wasn't too quick, like I was rushing, and it wasn't too like forever long either. And my manuscript grade, so it's only about 36,000 words, so that's why a month was reasonable. Maybe if you're writing something that's a lot longer, it's going to take a lot longer just because you can't edit something longer that quickly.
Yeah, and the overachiever in me would be like, I wonder if I could just stay up all night for a week and finish it and send it right back. But that is not achievable. Nobody try that.
And agents don't want that. I think I've heard somewhere that and I wish I could remember where, but no, you don't get that from me, that they don't set a deadline. Some agents won't set a deadline like you experienced because they don't want you to rush it. And they don't, they want it to, like, they want you to take as much time as you need to get it to where it needs to be. That's what I've heard from, I think, an agent probably on Twitter.
Yeah. And that is totally what Caitlin said as well, right? Like, it's going to take the time it takes. Like, don't rush it. And for me, not rushing is a challenge. But I was very intentional about it for that reason.
Yeah, it sounds like it, from setting your own deadlines and making sure that you met. That's what I would have to do too. Otherwise, like, either I would pull an all-nighter and be an idiot, or it would never get done. Like, there's no in between. So
yeah, that's pretty much me. I have to set deadlines. That's what we like our little 12-week plans, because otherwise things kind of just get put to the side and like forgotten about. Although I think if I had an R&R from an agent, I would be like prioritizing that for sure.
Nothing
but
else
not
in
everybody
life would exist.
Exactly. And not everyone works at the same pace. Like, some people can edit really quickly and some people take a long time. So I guess that's probably why they say they don't give you a deadline, because, what if you gave a deadline of 3 months to someone who took like 4 years just to write the first draft? Like, they would just totally panic because they would need so much more time. So that makes sense. It's kind of nice to have that door open. You can go fix your manuscript up and you don't have to rush, and then you can send it off when it feels like perfect.
Exactly. And I'll say, for context for listeners too, that my strength is editing compared to writing. Like, I like whine and moan and throw tantrums about the writing process, but editing is kind of where I'm most happy. So that was why it was reasonable for me as well.
I'm missing out, although I haven't started editing my latest manuscript, even though it's been sitting there with 20 pages of Elise's comments for like months, and I asked her to get it back to me by a certain day, and then I haven't even touched it because
okay, but I did that to both of you with bug babies, so don't worry about it.
We're all square now.
I have not touched that manuscript since you both read it and sent me feedback within the timeline that I requested, so I'm the jerk.
We want to read it again so bad.
Well,
no pressure.
Now I've left enough time that you've probably forgotten, so when I send you for another beta read, you won't be mad at me.
Yeah, it's gonna be like brand new. The hard part for me was last time I did a beta read for you. I did it, and then you took it back, and then you gave it back to me like a month later.
Me?
To check some stuff. Yeah, you.
Elise. Yeah, that's.
I was like, okay. So I was like, are you okay if I just check the flag spots? Because I don't think I could read it again that soon.
Yep. I'm on my third read through back to back to back. Don't do that to yourself. No, don't do that to your beta readers, because they'll hate you and never read for you again.
That's fair.
All right. So after the review of the resubmitted request, once you'd sent, like, you made your fixes, we had read it, you made your fixes for that and had it where you thought you wanted it, you sent it back to the agent. What did things look like from there? Like, what happened before? What was the timeline between that and your next response or your next task? What did it look like?
So she asked me to make a few other changes, and in between all of these emails, it's always a little bit like, oh, you'll hear from me within 6 to 8 weeks, you'll hear from me within a couple months if it's a really busy time for her. So she'd always kind of let me know, like, when was an appropriate time to give her a nudge to be like, hey, where's this at? So yeah, it was just like after the revise and resubmit, it was about 4 weeks or so before she replied. And then we scheduled what she called a get to know you meeting online. So we had a video call together that she asked me some like general questions about myself and about my writing kind of aspirations and future career potentially. And then following that was more of a business meeting. And that was during that meeting was when she offered representation.
The get to know you or the business one?
The business one.
During the business one, the separate question, Mariah asked, did you scream?
Yeah.
More important question.
Yeah. If I got offered rep, I'd like mute her for a sec and be like, 1 sec. And then unmute. Yes, that sounds great.
Yeah, there was a lot of like just smiling and trying to contain my excitement. And then when I ended the call, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. So yeah, I was trying to play it real cool, like on the call. And then afterwards I was like, wow.
I'm proud of you. I couldn't play it cool. I'd be such an idiot. I'd be like, actually, I take it back. You are crazy. We don't want to. So what kind of questions did they have for you, and what kind of questions did you have for them in comparison?
Okay, so Caitlin asked me in the get to know call, Caitlin asked me what else I was working on. So I told her about kind of my other works in progress, completed and not completed. And then, just general questions about that were to get to know who I am as a person and if we would kind of vibe together in a working relationship. It's like what my other hobbies were. She did ask me if I needed writing to pay my bills and if like anything I get is good. And that was more just for context. Like the answer didn't matter whether or not she would represent me, but it was just something that she kind of wanted to know going into it. And then also, things like if I'd like a writing career, some authors might be kind of like, oh, well, this is, my one book, and then maybe I'll publish another one in 60 years. Other people are like, nope, like this is what I want to do, have multiple books. So that was also a question just for context. And I remember she was like, are you thinking you're like a writing career? And I was like, yeah, can I have one of those? Like, that would be great. Like, that was my answer. Like, super cool. So that was my plan, to have one writing career, please. And then what kind of edits I prefer to receive and do well with. So she's like, do you like kind of like general or inline? And I said both. And so that was kind of like just the questions that she asked in the get to know call. And the business one was just a lot more kind of about a talk about the process, like what are the next steps. And then questions I asked Caitlin, I actually pulled a whole bunch from Alexa Dunn's YouTube video. She's a YA author. She's done some sci-fi and is getting into thrillers recently. And I follow her YouTube channel. I have for a while. And her video is called What to Do When You Get the Call, which I finally, after like having it on my list for a few years, can now remove from my watch later list because I got the call. So that's great. But it's so good. Yeah. And I used that as a guideline because even in like just regular job interviews, they'll be like, so do you have any questions for us? And I'll be like, no. And then I'll get home and be like, dang it, I should have asked this. So I didn't know what do people ask agents? And so that was really interesting because even if I didn't use all of Alexa's questions, it kind of gave me some context for like, oh, like this is important to her because she's this kind of writer, this kind of person. So I just used that as kind of like, yeah, like to ask Caitlin things like, have you ever asked someone to remove something from social media? Like that never would have occurred to me to ask. So I asked her that. And then things like, if I send you a manuscript, do you send anything I send you on submission, or is it kind of up to your discretion? And then I asked her, just for my own knowledge too, like if you say, no, we're not going to submit this, it's just not really like the right market for it, can I then self-publish it if I feel really strongly about it? So just things like that. I pulled a lot of questions from Alexa's video.
Cool. Okay. I love that. What was the answer to that last question? I'd love to know. Like, are agents okay with you self-publishing?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Caitlin
cool. Okay.
was. And she even said that Context Literary like offers self-publishing help. And like, that's a service they provide. So she was like, yeah, so if you just want to like go through us for it, great. And so it's an option for any of my work that we feel like we're not going to do traditional route, then I can choose on my own to self-publish if I want to.
Cool. I love that
Yeah.
because one of my questions that I forgot to include in the list we have going on here is like, what happens if you get an agent like this is for your middle grade novels.
Mhm.
Like, what about if you wrote like a YA novel or an
Mhm.
adult novel? Then what happens with
Yeah, so
that?
Caitlin, in my situation, Caitlin represents middle grade and YA, which is kind of
Oh,
what
perfect.
I write primarily,
Mhm.
right? So that works well. I have heard from other authors that sometimes they'll have a different agents for those different genres. Like if it's
Mm.
one that your agent just will not represent, then you can query another agent and be like, hey, I have this agent for middle grade, but I need someone for YA, and just go that whole separate track. Like I know, I'm pretty sure
Okay.
Brandon Sanderson did that, or either he still does or early on in his career when he
Mm.
kind of had both middle grade and YA. So I think I got that tidbit from him. But in my situation, I only need the one agent because Caitlin does both, and she's awesome.
That's perfect. Okay. So that's the plus side of finding like your dream agent. So what's the difference? You queried like 300 agents. And when you were doing that, like, were they all someone that you thought would be super appropriate for you, like a good business match? Or were they all just agents that would represent what you were querying? And you're just kind of taking a shot in the dark?
Yeah, so I know like a lot of people talk about, try to find an agent that you feel like you're going to jive with, but I felt like that's really hard to do just from their sort of website lists or
Mhm.
their Twitter lists. So I would definitely more so target people who are representing what I wrote rather than someone like I would follow their careers. And if it was really interesting, I'd be like, oh, like that'd be a super awesome plus, like to work with this person. But usually it was just kind of like whoever had like even just like middle grade fantasy on their list, I
Mhm.
would query them. So super general. And I mean, like now looking back on it, I feel like I'm so fortunate to have Caitlin, and she does kind of like fall into that category of someone I would work really well with because, after like 300 queries, I definitely started to get the feeling that like anyone that will have me is great. But I'm so lucky to have Caitlin because I know, like, when I was listening to an episode of Writing Excuses years ago, Mary Robinette was talking about she was kind of in a stage in her career where it was sort of starting to take off, and she really needed like to switch agents. Like she was saying, she's like, I needed a shark. Like I need as like someone who's just going to go after things for me. Like I need a shark. And I was thinking about that recently, just reflecting on the whole signing with Caitlin and our working relationship so far. And I was like, I don't think I would do well with a shark. Like I kind of want a dolphin or like sea otter would be great. And like, it's like all of those are like good marine mammals. Like they're going to do well in the ocean, just in a different way. So Caitlin, you are a sea otter and or a dolphin. And that's it's just Caitlin is so optimistic, enthusiastic, like I am. And we get into these email chains where it's like 4 emails long of like, you're awesome, no, you're awesome, no, thank you, no, thank you. And I really need that. And so it's like a bonus that Caitlin is like that with me personally. And then she's also a very talented editor as well. Like some of the changes that she made when we were prepping the manuscript for submission were some of my favorites. And yeah, I feel like she works really well with my personality. Like I'm impatient and extremely sensitive, which is a bad combination. And I feel like she knows how to handle me and how to like handle that type of person I am. So yeah, I feel like I kind of lucked into the ideal agent situation after sending so many queries.
I love that. I feel like I would need a shark. I would probably need a shark because I'm
Yeah,
like
right?
anxious and controlling. I'd be like, get out there
Yeah.
and get some blood in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's like when you hear that analogy, it's like you know what you want. Like the
Yeah,
the otter's a
I
shark.
love that.
One of them will hold your hand, one of them won't.
I think I need the hand holding. Oh.
Yeah.
I think we all need a little hand holding now and then.
Yeah.
Maya, you've kind of answered this already a little bit in the tangents we've gone on, but just for timeline clarity, because I think this will be helpful to some people. Once you revised, you resubmitted, things look good, you had those calls, you agreed to work together. What then were the next steps? Did you mentioned some editing before going on submission, so was that like another whole round? Were other people involved? Or did she prep you to go on submission somehow, and what was the process for that?
Yeah, so Caitlin took a few weeks with the manuscript on her own. It was just her and I working on it. And she sent me edits that were things like, add a comma here, take a comma out, those kinds of like, I don't know if I guess at least you can say like copy edits, like more like detailed ones. And then there was also things like, hey, maybe we can rework this sentence or add a little more here. So like still a few kind of like bigger chunks to address, but like overall much smaller than like the big oversight email or edits of the revise and resubmit. And so then I went through that document after Caitlin was finished with it. And then once I had kind of gone through it once, then it started to be very back and forth, where like we were starting to kind of whittle down those edits slowly. And sometimes I would change something and she'd be like, no, it doesn't work, let's change it back. And then other times I would change something and she'd be like, okay, like it's on the right track, but you need to come back and like look at it, which is again the impatient thing where I was like, no, like it's fine. But then I would give it a couple days and then come back to it again. So that whole process took probably like 2 or 3 weeks or so. And once we were getting close to kind of those last few edits just needing to be checked off, then Caitlin made a submission letter. Like she completed a submission document that kind of looks very similar to a query. Like she sort of introduced who I was and what the book is about, and all that kind of stuff. And then that was going to be the letter that we sent off to, or she sent off to editors once we were actually on submission. So that whole process took me like probably in total about a month. And then we were on submission, and that we're still on submission. So it's a lot like querying, where you send it out, Caitlin sends it out, and then you sit there and wait and listen and hopefully get feedback. And it's really hard not to refresh your email every 5 seconds. So that was kind of the thing that happened sort of immediately after, was we just jumped right into edits and getting it ready for submission.
Okay, I love that. That was faster than I thought it would be. I thought you'd kind of hang out in like just nowhere land. Yeah, for like a few months before anything happened.
Yeah.
So that's nice to know.
Caitlin is very quick. So that I think could just be like specific to my agent. But yeah, it was she was just very excited to get going on it. We both were. So yeah, that was the first thing we did right after. So that was great.
I love that. My question was about the publishing contract. So obviously don't disclose anything you're not supposed to disclose, but I was curious, like, did you feel the need to have a lawyer of your own look it over? Was it pretty straightforward? What did you think about it?
Yeah, so the contract is, in some ways I was expecting like a tome. It's like, here's your tome of being signed with a literary agent. It was like a page and a bit. It wasn't very long. It looked pretty standard. This is ironic to say for someone who writes, but my brain doesn't do very well with words. I like think a lot in images. And so I gave it to my husband, who is a lot more kind of better equipped to handle like the jargon and some of the like more technical looking documents. So he read it over and was like, yeah, it seems pretty good. It's pretty standard. So I just signed it because I was very excited as well. And I didn't see any red flags, but I mean, you could totally have a lawyer look it over. Like, it's just one of those things that we didn't have the finances to do that, and we were lazy. So that like a combination of those are just like, yep, like, let's send it off, like looks fine. But if you wanted to, just for your own peace of mind or to understand it better, like I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that or shouldn't do that. Like, it was totally up to, I think, the person's comfort level with the document. So yeah, but mine was standard and it wasn't hard to understand.
I imagine the contract that you sign for your agent is one thing, but a contract you would sign when a publisher offers you a book deal is going to be, that's probably going to be the tome.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that one I probably might, reach out for more help with. But yeah, the agent one was pretty standard, straightforward for the most part. But yeah, I think if my book sells, if it gets a publishing contract, then that's going to be one where I'm going to have to really sit down and look at it really closely, because I'm going to struggle to understand it.
Also, we got to say when your book sells, because I've read it and I know that it will, and it's amazing.
Thanks, guys.
When your book sells and when you get your publishing contract.
Yes.
You guys are the best partners.
I'll take it.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I think that kind of wraps up our questions about the process, about the business. I mean, we could probably sit here and ask you more questions all day long, because there's so many things. But I think that's a good chunk of information that we didn't have before. I know I feel more informed, and
So do I.
It feels like a little bit less daunting. Like, what happens in the great unknown? Now it's like, okay, I know someone who's been there.
I was most excited for this episode because I was like, I feel like there's not a lot of discussion like online or on Twitter, wherever, from like people like, okay, I'm represented by so-and-so. And then now I'm on submission. And I'm like, well, what happens between getting the agent and going on submission? Like,
you skipped a whole bunch of chapters. What happened in the middle?
We want to know.
So yeah, this very
like,
nicely.
Have you guys seen that meme that's like the rest of the owl, where it's like you draw a shape and then you draw another little like detail, and then all of a sudden it's like bam, fully realistically rendered owl? It's like that, right? It's like you get to it's like I signed with an agent, and boom, I have a book. It's like what were the middle
how did
steps?
you get there?
How did you do that?
Not a 3-step process.
Oh, man. I think, this is probably my favorite episode we've ever done, just because like we've done a lot of this where we'll do an episode on something, we'll do a bunch of research, and we'll compile a whole bunch of notes, and it's like, I totally learned a lot. This is demystified this aspect, and it's great. But I feel like this aspect has kind of like eluded us for the past several years. So this feels like, this is a new step for us as much as it is for you. To hear from you and experience what it's like through your experience of it. So.
And I can prepare you guys very well for when you guys get agents, because I know that's going to happen.
I like how you said when and not if.
She jumped right
on. I know,
that.
Right? Yeah. When for you guys, if for me.
We'll probably do the same in reverse. When for Maja, and whatever. For the
I actually have to keep querying if I want to do that. I've taken a real lull. It's been like a 6-month lull because I just haven't felt like doing it. But
it's hard, right? Like I did that too, where I just felt like, right now I just need to take a break for a little bit, and then I'll just keep going afterwards, right? Because it's hard to put yourself out there continuously, and it's hard to, kind of look for people who might be interested in your work, compile the query, send it off, like all that kind of stuff, right? So it's totally something that people sometimes need to do, right? It's just kind of take a breather for a bit.
Yeah.
And I
mental
think
health break.
That's healthy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you can only take so much, like, I did all this work and it's a no. And as much as like that doesn't reflect on your writing, on who you are as a person, any of those things, it still feels that way after a certain amount of time. And then that's okay. I need to take a step back, get some perspective again, and dive back in. And I imagine that you did that multiple times over you said 8 years that you were querying. So
yeah, absolutely.
One of my other questions I forgot to ask actually was, you said that your benchmark was like 100 queries per manuscript. So you hit that for all 3 of your manuscripts, basically. Were those 100 queries for, like, if you take the latest manuscript, were those 100 queries over the course of several years, or did you do like 1 year per manuscript? Like how did that break down?
I sat down one afternoon and just sent out 100 at once, just super like just powered. No, I'm joking. It was really like, again, kind of like Maria was saying with breaks and stuff, right? It just really would be like, I'd send out, like maybe 4 one afternoon, and then a couple days later I'd send out 5, and then like, another day I'd send out 1 or 2, and then it would be kind of be like, okay, like I'm going to wait now to hear back from those people. And sometimes it's the, radio silence, like it's been 2, 3, 6 months, whatever, and I've never like had a reply, so I'm going to assume that that's like a rejection without a reply. And then sometimes it'd be a form rejection, and like every so often I would get like a couple little like, it's not for me, but I did enjoy like this in the first 10 pages that you sent. So those were like little nuggets to kind of hold on to be like, okay, like and the first manuscript I ever queried, it was like all form rejections, all of them. And so I knew that it wasn't there. And then the second one was kind of like, I got a couple requests and like a couple non-form. I'm like, okay, like my writing's kind of improving. And then this third one, I think I got to just under 50 queries before I signed with Caitlin.
Oh, wow.
And that one was like, I think I had like 6 full manuscript requests. So I was like getting better at writing queries. I was getting better at writing in general. So it was all that kind of like, but yeah, it was very just kind of like, I think the first manuscript I ever sent out, I was probably querying for like maybe a year to 2 years, somewhere in that. It's a long time ago, I can't remember, but I think for all of them it was kind of like that, where I would send out a few, and then once I had kind of racked up maybe 10 or 15 rejections, I'd be like, okay, like now I'm going to try and do 10 or 15 more. And so it just kind of took the time it took depending on the reply rate.
Okay. That's making me feel more confident, because the manuscript that I need to edit, would be my third one that I'm going to query. And maybe the third one is the
there you
lucky
go,
one.
right?
Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
Third time's the
Yeah.
charm. But we'll see about that.
Yeah.
And I guess our last question is, tell us what you're working on now and what your plans are kind of going forward.
You guys know that I'm working on a YA superhero novel that I keep sending out for feedback in writers group. And it's about 5 people who go to a nerdy convention and gain superpowers of their characters that they're dressed up as. And one of the costume goes bad and unleashes hatchlings on downtown Seattle. And so that's kind of like been like a fun project I've been working on. And so hopefully it goes somewhere. We'll kind of see. And my plan right now is to continue to freak out because I'm on submission, and every time I get an email or like, and I'm like, what? And sometimes I'll reload my Starbucks card and it'll email me. I'm like, is this an email from Kate? No, it's the Starbucks card. Like, you know this. Oh my gosh. Like, yeah. So that's my plan. It's like I live in a perpetual state of like listening to my phone ding. And then yeah, like I just have other projects I want to finish, like the superhero one. I've got a couple other kind of works in progress. I just need to kind of get organized and get my butt in gear. And right now I'm kind of just focusing on the mom part of my life because it's summer vacation and my daughter's home for the summer off for a couple months. And then my son's only a year and a half, so he's always home with me. And so that makes things very, very busy and very, very full, but it's nice to have that time together. So yeah, that's my life right now.
Wow. That makes me feel like, okay, so other people are busy too, and they still manage to do it. So I can survive this.
Yes.
I'm starting to go like, what's my excuse then?
Too many dogs.
Yeah, too many dogs.
You have more dogs than I have kids, so there we go.
That's true. And then there's horses too. So look, now
Yeah, right?
I just
There
gave
we
myself
go.
all the excuses. I feel a little better now.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show. We love having you in our writing group, and we chat with you all the time. But this is a special hangout for us, so we really appreciate it. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, and thanks for having me in writing group too, because that has been life-changing. Like I was looking for one for years and I got the best one.
Yeah, and now you can't leave. So it's sort of like a lifetime thing. Like we got our hooks in you and you're screwed. Elise is so
You're
cute. I'm
stuck
over here
with me, but
hysterical.
I'm stuck with you.
I love it.
Works
We're a big
for
happy
me.
writing family.
Yeah.
All right, and that's the tea on signing with an agent. Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram at the Tea Grannies Podcast and on Twitter at the Tea Grannies. We'll see you next time with our Q&A on traditional publishing with author Rob Sambord. Happy writing.